Happy Easter, everyone. Surprise, surprise. We're doing a special draft special edition on NFL Chaos with Jeremy. I am Jeremy and I bring the chaos. And we were going to bring back and have an old friend rejoin the show all the way from Florence, Italy. Right after this special draft countdown. We're running out of time, so it's getting good. I like Hutchinson the best, and I don't think Linderbaum is worth a top 10 pick. Thibodeau slipped, and I am going to grab Thibodeau. The Giants took Khalil Elam. Good for them. Kenyon Green is a guarantee in my mind. He would be such a dream pick right here. Evan Neal is still on the board. I'm not going to pick this now. That 44 pick could be tight end. That 44 pick could be a good linebacker, a good safety. We could drop back one pick and pick up a second rounder for New Orleans. We got options here. Okay, so you haven't seen him in a while. I'm going to cut right to the chase. I'm going to throw out my picks there. And the special guest, we haven't seen him since maybe the last watch party. Welcome back, my bro, Lee Cravette.
Hey, Jeremy, how you doing?
Okay. So you wanted to know who I was thinking about picking, who my picks were, what was going on in the draft, right?
I did. I've seen a lot of these mock drafts you've been doing, and I'm thinking, well, what's going to really happen? What's going to happen in your mind? And I don't want to see a mock draft. I want to see what you think is actually going to happen. So we're not going to mock it up. But one of the reasons we're doing this show at such an odd time is I am in Florence, Italy right now.
Okay, and I know I said you're in Italy. It's incredible. Yeah. Just so everybody knows, we are not doing a mock draft. We're going over my picks. So we're going to do, well, you tell them, Lee, what are we going to do? First, let me say hello. Aiden, Jacksonville Jaguar fan, is here. So you might be interested because we're going to talk about the Jaguars too and who they're going to pick. Miami Dolphins fan, Grandizer in the house. Don't worry, we're not doing another draft, but you'll get to see my picks for the Jets and for some other teams. Bryant Sill, what's going on? Our brother Matthew is in here, so the three of us are technically together in a sense. And here we go. Let's tell them what we're doing.
Yeah. So I want to do something before we do it, but what ultimately I want to find out is what you think the top 10 picks are going to be. So number one, we'll find out what the Jets picks are going to be in your mind, but also what the other teams are going to do and who's going to be left for the Jets to pick. And then once we get through the first round of the Jets picks, I just want to hear the rest of the Jets picks. So who do you think is going to be available? Who are they going to take? But before we even get into that, I was hoping that you would talk about what's happened in the offseason, just a little summary, which helps define what we need. What do we need for the draft?
Okay. And that's, it's interesting. So we, in the offseason, the first thing we did, which really changed a perspective of the draft. Happy Easter, Anthony. I see you out there. We picked up Laken Tomlinson, who's a Pro Bowl guard. So right away, for most people, took Evan Neal, Icky, Aquano. Everybody had Aquano, 4, 10. Do we take, how early do we take them? Now, if you take Aquano, somebody doesn't play. Who doesn't play? Do you bench Becton and say, no, we're not going to give you a chance to come back from your injury, even though you were an all-pro level left tackle, like you were, looking like you were going to develop into an all-pro? You bench Fant, who put up amazing numbers last year and did an incredible job. Do you bench your Pro Bowl Laken Tomlinson, the guy you just signed, AVT, the guy you traded tons of draft capital up for to get, who had a great rookie year? It didn't make sense because you're not going to take a guy with the number 4 pick to sit on the bench and to develop for a year. You just don't do that.
So it changed everything.
So the only way they take an Evan Neal or an Aquano is if they've completely given up on Becton or they have an amazing trade offer for fans. But I don't think you improve unless the trade offer is amazing. You don't improve your team enough because it's not a position of need anymore. to make a move like that. It just doesn't make sense.
All right. So what else happened? What else happened in the offseason?
So we
Anything?
all, yeah, well, we added a safety, and we re-signed Joyner, Lamarcus Joyner. So he's back after being, he got injured, missed last season. We signed a guy named Whitehead from Tampa, so he has Super Bowl experience. He's a heat-sinking missile, hard-hitting safety, aggressive, perfect player for for this rebuilding team, a perfect leader. Um, Jet fans are going to love him because he causes turnovers, which is something we're lacking on the defense. So we're excited to get this kid, and he can play inside the box. He's decent in coverage. So that took away the need or any talk of having to take two safeties. We also can't forget that Jason Pinnock, even though he had a small sample of only a few games, actually played very well at the position. We also have Ashton Davis still on the squad. So it's not like we're deleted of safeties. So we don't necessarily have to take a safety in this draft. And if we do, we certainly don't have to take one very, very early in the draft.
And what about, people coming back from injuries that you're excited about? I know that you're excited about it.
Well, I'll get to that. One more pickup I wanted to talk about
Sure.
was a major pickup was Reed, CJ Reed from the Seattle Seahawks, and the reason why he was an important pickup was he is a very good cornerback, a legitimate CB1, somebody who right now probably is the favorite in front of Bryce Hall to be basically our number one cornerback. Which moves Bryce Hall to the number 2 position, which makes our secondary much stronger because a lot of people's criticism of Hall is not that he's not good. They just didn't see him as a CB1. Well, now he's a CB2, and that's assuming he could beat out Eccles, who did not have a bad season for a rookie, who they are saying will have a chance to compete with Bryce Hall for the CB2 spot. So that, again, when we look to the draft, no longer leaves cornerback as much a position of need. It's more of a position of if the right guy is there and he's the best player, and you just have simply no choice but to take him.
Well, do we lose anybody that you wish we didn't lose?
I can't think of anybody really that left. I'm trying to think if anybody really. I mean, Fado Kasi was a little bit of a concern, but then right away they picked up a guy named Solomon from San Francisco, who was drafted by San Francisco very early as an edge, but it turns out he's better on the inside. He's a good run stopper. It's more of a natural position. So we could put him there. And Fado Kasi didn't have the best year last year. So I'm certainly not disappointed or upset that we didn't pay him a big contract because I don't know if he'll ever be a good fit for a 4-3 system.
And you don't think we need a quarterback?
No, I think we're okay at quarterback for now. At least I hope we are.
Okay. And you were going to talk about people maybe returning from injuries that might fill some gaps for us.
So Carl Lawson comes back and is looking good. Again, the issue or the challenge with Carl Lawson is when you blow an Achilles, historically, a lot of players don't come back as they would. So we don't know that he's going to be like the premier number 1 edge. We believe the reports suggest that he can. It's possible. He'll certainly be a solid number 2 edge player. Possibly the guy he was going to be and be a number 1 edge type player. But there's a question mark there. So edge is still a high position of need for the Jets.
I think that might be a need.
But it is exciting to get him back. Becton obviously is coming back, or they believe he's coming back. He'll be ready. They know they're not saying he won't be ready for game 1. The only question is, will he be ready for day 1 of OTAs? But there's already videos of him carrying 400 pounds on his shoulders and walking. So it's very hard to imagine.
I can do that. That's no big deal, man.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think the biggest needs are before we start talking about the specifics of who you'd pick?
The specifics of who I'd pick.
No. What are the biggest needs in general? What are the big needs?
Okay, so I don't know if the Jets feel this way, but I feel they need a linebacker. Okay, but we don't know if the Jets feel that way. And that's just a question mark. Because they actually might like Sherwood, who blew an Achilles. So I don't know how they could feel secure about that. And he wasn't really playing that great. when he got hurt. So all we have is CJ Mosley. We don't know who's going to replace him if we can't restructure his contract and we have to cut him next year. So there's question marks there. So I think there's questions all over the linebacker position. I think big need for us still, though, the obvious glaring need is edge. So edge is the number one need. I think wide receiver is a big need. We definitely, I don't know that we need a WR1, because I believe Elijah Moore might develop into our WR1, but we need another very solid wide receiver. And that has to happen probably in the first four of somewhere in the first top four of our picks, whether it's the first or second round, but we need to get another guy in there. We do have Corey Davis coming back from injury, who is still good. It's not that he's not good. We have Elijah Moore, who we expect to take a step forward, and we re-signed Braxton Berrios for a slot receiver. But there's no depth in that room right now. So
no Mimsy.
Mimsy's still going to be around. So in my mind, I'm treating Mimsy as an unknown. So we hope for the best, but we can't count on him. So Mimsy is a hope for the best. Hopefully he comes into camp and he's amazing. And I still think there's a chance he could be a very solid, important contributor on the team. But going into this draft, we can't count on that. We have to draft as though Mimsy is not going to pan out. We have to live with that assumption.
I gotcha.
In my opinion.
So anything else you want to say before we get to the top 10 picks right here?
Yeah, I'll say we also kind of need a safety. I'd like to bring another running back in. And if it's the right guy, I'd even go early on a running back, because I think Michael Carter could very well be and might very well be a solid RB1. But I think that this team is predicated on the run. I think you can't just be an injury away from losing your weapon. I think we need a 1-2 punch. I think we need two guys who are capable running back ones, and I think this draft has some pretty special guys and we have the number of picks that we can actually grab one of those guys.
Yeah, sometimes you have to give what the take what the draft gives.
Yes.
Yeah. Last year it was quarterback, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it. Yeah, you ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Pick number 1. Who's the first in the draft to go?
Okay, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will come in and take Aiden Hutchinson.
So Hutchinson's gone.
I say that Jacksonville secured what they had to do on their offensive line, making sure guys are staying. They did their franchise. They franchised their tackle. They locked in some guys in free agency. They are not going to pass on the opportunity of, after quarterback, the hardest position to fill and the hardest position as far as depth to get that big marquee player on defense is edge. And Aiden Hutchinson is you just don't let a guy like that get away when you have the opportunity to grab him.
And it sounds like that's who you would take if the Jets had a higher pick.
Yeah, I would definitely. I don't know for a fact. I'm not sitting here strongly saying Aiden is better than Thibodeau, but he does have the slight edge right now, and no, pardon the pun. But I think Hutchinson is the pick, although I wouldn't be surprised if Thibodeau becomes the better football player.
Okay, so number 2.
Number 2, I have the Detroit Lions taking Evan Neal. Offensive tackle out of Alabama. It's going to be a little bit of for them. They took Sewell last year, and they moved him to right tackle. I just think Evan Neal is a franchise, tackle that will be around for the next 8 to 10 years there, or have his whole career there if they get the second contract. I think he's going to be a perennial All-Pro. He's a very safe pick for Detroit. I think it's too early to go. They might trade out. They honestly might trade out. They might take a quarterback. But I think that the number 2 pick this year with the quarterback class that we're seeing, I think it's too early. I think there'll be guys they might be able to grab. They have a late round first pick, or the first pick in the second round, or something like that. They pick 32 or 33. I think they'll wait and they'll get a quarterback then. So yeah, I think they take the best player available, and I think they're going to think that's Evan Neal.
So this is best player available versus specific need.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's best player available combined with one of their needs. They have a lot of
Yeah,
needs.
sure. Yeah. Pick number 3.
Pick number 3 is I have the Houston Oilers taking Houston Texans. Sorry, wow, that's a crazy mistake. The Houston Texans taking Trayvon Walker. So this is a bit of a gamble because Walker came up the boards very late. It's based on his athleticism and what he did in the combines, and people going back to the tape. The production is not there, but a lot of people say he played on the Georgia defense and didn't have the opportunity to be a pure edge rusher, and he has the highest ceiling, according to a lot of scouts. And I think Houston's going to back off Thibodeau a little bit. There was some negative press on him, and they're going to go for the guy who is said to have the higher ceiling, and they're going to take a shot with Trayvon Walker, a move that I wouldn't personally do, but it's what I think they're going to do.
What do you think their other options are? What do you think they might do if they don't do that?
Oh, well, Thibodeau is definitely an option. It's an option for anyone. They might go quarterback. They might trade out and allow somebody else. They might take Kyle Hamilton. They could take Sauce Gardner, cornerback. I mean, they have a lot of needs. Houston has a lot of needs. There's a lot of things that they can do.
So now we're at the Jets' first pick.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So I'm looking at other people. Other people have so many different opinions about this, but now we're looking at. I'm sorry. We're looking at the Jets' first pick, which is.
I think we are. Yeah, and I think this is what I'm most excited to hear about.
This scenario would be very happy for me if Hutchinson, Neal, and Walker went first. It would be very happy because it would leave my guy for us. I don't know if it'll happen. The thing that could blow this up is Detroit might not take Evan Neal. They might take this guy, or they might take Trayvon Walker. It's very possible, but I would take Kayvon Thibodeau. I think the negative press on him is nonsense, complete nonsense. And I think the takes or the rumors out there or that people are saying he doesn't have a motor and he doesn't play every play and he takes plays off. I think it's all a bunch of nonsense. I think he's clearly the Jets pick if he's there is Kayvon Thibodeau.
And if he's not there, where were they going? What's your pick behind Thibodeau if he's not there?
I think if there's a guy they like, they would still take edge. They might love Trayvon Walker if Thibodeau's gone and Trayvon Walker's there. I don't see the fit, but I'm not Joe Douglas and I'm not a professional scout. They might be in love with Trayvon Walker and think he's going to be an absolute animal, and they can easily coach him up to being a great edge. So it could be him. It could be Jermaine Johnson, who's a popular edge and a popular choice there in that situation. George Karlaftis, is a guy that can't just be totally forgotten. He's dropped down in a lot of people's rankings, but it's not necessarily a fact that George Karlaftis isn't on the Jets' radar. It wouldn't be considered at number 4. A lot of people think Sauce Gardner could be the Jets' number 4 pick just by being the best player, or a Kyle Hamilton. It's hard to imagine us going there. Again, it's not the strongest position of need. But the one thing about Sauce Gardner is how often do you get pretty much a guaranteed lockdown, shutdown corner.
But your prediction is, even if not Thibodeau, you still think edge.
I think edge. I think that there'll be some other edge on the board that Joe Douglas loves, whether it's Karlaftis or Trayvon Walker or Jermaine Johnson.
All right. Number 5. So we know who you're hoping for.
Yes. I believe at number 5, because he's still there, the New York Giants take Kyle Hamilton. It's not their biggest position of need. They need a lot of things. They do have 2 picks. I think there's a very good chance the Giants trade out of this spot. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting trade offers, because I do think that there are at this point going to be teams that want to move up and try to get their quarterback. So Carolina might flop with them just to stop that from happening. I could see Seattle trying to move up a few spots. I could see New Orleans trying to trade up. So there's going to be trades. I'm going as if there's not going to be trades on who my top 10 are. But I do want to say it's very interesting what's going to happen on draft day, and it would not be a shock at all if there are a bunch of trades.
So you mentioned teams trading up for quarterback. So who's the first quarterback to go?
I believe it's going to be Malik Willis.
And when do you think? Right now, you haven't had him as a. You have 5 picks without him getting picked, right? So you don't. You think he's going top 5?
Well, let's keep moving ahead, and we'll find out. If there are no trades, I think Malik Willis is going to go number 6 to the Carolina.
Okay, let's talk about 6. North Carolina.
Okay, North Carolina. Carolina made a very big mistake, as we all know. They very foolishly bought into this hype that Sam Darnold was destroyed or didn't play well because it was a Jet. They ignored a very important piece of evidence, and that piece of evidence is that when Darnold got hurt during his 3rd season, and Joe Flacco, what some would consider now a perennial backup veteran quarterback, washed up, far off his prime, came into the game and played much better. Not much better, but he played better than Sam Darnold. The Jets were a better team with Flacco as their quarterback. So future superstar franchise quarterback year 3 can't outplay backup quarterback. Can't outplay him. That's a problem. That's a problem. So you can't blame the players around them anymore. Also, if you just watch the tape, Sam Darnold was, some people will say forever the Jets ruined him. I don't believe in that. I think that's nonsense. I think he just was a guy like any other quarterback that didn't pan out, because there's a million of them that don't pan out. And anyway, they put themselves in a very bad position. The coach is on the hot seat. Here's a team with a defense ready to win, ready to go deep into the playoffs, and they just simply don't have a quarterback. So they, they might bring in one of these other kind of, these guys, these, mercenary type guys, but they lost out on Deshaun Watson. There's no one really left for them. They just have to take a shot at it. And if Malik Willis is there at 6, they're going to grab him.
All right. And you think he will be there?
I believe that he will be there. And, if I'm wrong about anything, it'll be that they take a different quarterback, that they don't like Malik Willis.
Who would they take instead of him?
Kenny Pickett is a possibility. Yeah, I think that would be the most likely person.
Okay. Pick number 7.
Pick number 7 is the Giants finally start addressing their offensive line. They took Hamilton. The big surprise, a very big surprise that he slipped. Okay, so this is a big shock, but Ickey still there. Aquano at 7 gets selected by the New York Giants. Now Ickey could just as easily go number 2 to Detroit, and then you might see the Giants take Evan Neal in this spot, but they'll take the best offensive lineman available.
Okay. OL, I always feel it's never a wasted pick to beef up your offensive line.
Yeah.
It's a pick for today and a pick for tomorrow for your quarterback.
Yep.
Okay. Pick 8.
Pick number 8, the Atlanta Falcons their eyes are going to pop out of their head, and they're not going to believe that Sauce Gardner is still there. As much as Atlanta needs a wide receiver, they are going to, they need a lot of things that they're about to underhaul a Giants rebuild, but whether they like it or not, but they're not going to pass up on a shutdown corner. This is possible Hall of Fame type cornerback, Darrelle Revis type cornerback. So Atlanta is going to make that selection, and they're going to worry about wide receiver in the 2nd round.
Now, do you think Gardner can go earlier? What teams might take him?
Oh, the Jets could possibly take him. I think any of the teams, the Giants could take him. The biggest surprise would be if Carolina took him, only because of need for quarterback. But you could see Houston take him. I don't think Jacksonville would take him with the number 1 pick. But I could see the Giants definitely, Houston, Detroit. There's just, it's hard to predict. I mean, he's an elite player. He's a special talent, so he can come out at any time.
I feel bad for him. He's dropping to 8. You're talking about how talented he
He's
is.
going to get a lot of money. He's going to get a lot of money.
I bet you he would like to go before 8.
Yeah, he probably would. But I think again, and he might with a trade might make that happen. There's a lot of things that can make that happen. He might go number 4 to the Jets. It wouldn't be unthinkable. It would be confusing to a lot of Jet fans though, as far as positional needs.
Positional lead, yeah. Yeah, as opposed to best player. Number 9.
Number 9 is Seattle will take the second quarterback off the board, barring any trades, and take Kenny Pickett.
So you think those two could swap though?
Yeah, I think those two could swap. I think there's even some of the other guys that might go. I think that like I think the quarterback position is hard to predict because there's no dominant guys. So there's Matt Corral who can go. Seattle might like him better. There's Sam Howell. There's Desmond Ritter. So there's a couple of guys there because there's no. I think Malik Willis. I think most people believe is the biggest standout guy, and then there's like 2 or 3 guys in there that you can debate about, and it just depends on what the general manager and scouts think.
Okay, what I really want to know is Jets' second pick at number 10 is.
So the Jets' second pick,
Yeah.
They are going to decide like.
This one's kind of, you're excited about telling us this one. You can't even think of it.
Well, I mean, some people who know me already know, but a lot of people fight it and don't think it's the right guy. But I'm gonna say very sternly, he's the right guy, and they're gonna pick Jameson Williams, the wide receiver out of Alabama, who recently in January in front of the country tore his ACL.
And so why do you think, given their history with injuries, why they would take someone that just had an injury?
They would take him because, and first of all, there's a lot of tape of him 2 months after the surgery, and he has full range of motion, and he looks great. The worst case scenario for him is that I see is that he misses the first few games of the year. Some people are already exaggerating and saying you won't play till November, and they're not looking or reading the news or reading any of the health updates. That is not necessarily true that he's not going to play. That's going to take till November. But you know what? I don't care. I mean, I do care. I'd rather have him come back in, game 4 and he's back. But the reality is, I don't care. We're not contending for a Super Bowl this year. We're just not. We were 4-13 last year. You don't pass up. You don't pass up on who you believe is the best player available because they're going to miss the first few games of their career. If Joe Douglas,
well, the best player available in a position they need.
Right. If Joe Douglas is a fan of Jameson Williams and believes he has the best chance to be the number 1, type wide receiver, Tyreek Hill type of receiver, he's not going to pass up on him because he might not be ready to start his career. Like it's just wouldn't make any sense. So I believe
you think he's definitely coming back from the ACL.
I have full confidence.
And you don't think a different team is going to take him because you haven't mentioned him previously.
I definitely think he'd go to Atlanta. 2 stops before that. I think Atlanta might decide. It'd be hard to imagine where Sauce Gardner would slip to, but I could see Atlanta picking Jameson Williams in a heartbeat. But if they go wide receiver, they might take Garrett Wilson. I don't think there's a comparison. I honestly don't. I like Garrett Wilson, but I just simply don't think he's in the same league. I think wide receiver, there's a tier 1, and Jameson Williams is alone in that level 1.
So you right now recap the 2 players you think the Jets are going to end up with.
So the Jets are going to end up with Thibodeau and Jameson Williams.
And if not, who would the 3rd, 4th, and 5th people be that you can imagine them ending up with based on the draft?
Realistically, I can imagine them ending up with Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
I could realistically see them ending up with Garrett Wilson. If I'm wrong about how they feel about wide receiver.
Yeah.
I could see them ending up with Drake London. But that would be another big injury question. That's no different than the Jameson Williams because he's coming off of ankle surgery and a fractured ankle.
Okay. So you sound pretty confident who the Jets are going to end up with in top two.
Well, I mean, the only thing about with Thibodeau that I'm not confident about is I'm not confident that he's going to be there.
Yeah.
But
But if those two players are there, those are the ones you think we're going to get.
Yeah, if they're there, they're the ones I think JD are going to grab. But it could very easily end up being Hamilton at 4 and like a Jermaine Johnson at 10 or a Karlaftis at 10. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
And why don't we run down the rest of the Jets picks you think they're going to end up with next
Okay, let me
5 or 6 guys?
Okay. So here's what I think is going to happen, and the third one might not. So the third one might not happen because of lack of availability, but a lot of mocks now have him slipping, and I'm going to assume if he's going to be there, there's no question that we are passing up a pick 35 after we've gotten Thibodeau and Jameson Williams with him on the board. This is going to be about best player available, not necessarily positional need, but it will help the position get a lot stronger and help the room get stronger. Tyler Lindenbaum. If Tyler Lindenbaum is available at pick 35, there is absolutely no way in the world I can imagine Joe Douglas, who has so much belief and value in the offensive line, that he is not going to grab this player. This is a first round talent that would only have slipped because of his position and his size, his weight that people are concerned about. If you look at his production, there's no better football player. I mean, you could say Sauce Gardner, Kyle Hamilton, but he's at that level for his position as far as a football player and the quality of his play.
So you love the guy and you think he'll be available at 35?
I think he might be.
Yeah. If he's not, who are we going for?
If he's not, then I'm looking at my next pick with the Jets. I have the Jets picking at 38. Breece Hall, who is a stud running back. I could live with Kenneth Walker, who's another running back. And the reason I take Breece Hall there is not because I think that that running back is that high on our list in need. It's because of the talent of Breece Hall and how he would change the complexion of the Jets offense.
Well, I think you already said that we need a 1-2 punch at running back.
Right. And Breece Hall would give you, because you might be able to get that guy in the 4th, 5th round, a good second punch. But Breece Hall gives you the potential of an elite running back, like top 5 in the NFL. He has that potential. He could be a premier running back.
I don't like grabbing a running back too high because I've seen too many grabbed in the top 10 and not producing.
I never want a running back in the first round, but at pick 35, I think the value is there for a guy like Breece Hall or a guy like Kenneth Walker. But I think Breece Hall, I would give the edge over Walker too. I think he has bigger pop, more explosion in his acceleration ability.
Yeah, I just think his first name is kind of weird, and I'm not so sure.
But anyway, that's who I would go for at 35
if
Tyler Lindenbaum wasn't there.
All right. Who looking at after that?
Well, okay, but at 38, it would be Breece Hall, who I believe will be there, or Kenneth Walker if Breece Hall's not on the board. Pick 69. That brings us to pick 69. Again, not the biggest position of need. It's going to upset some Jet fans that I say this. But if he's there, which he possibly could be, I don't think we could pass on Jeremy Ruckert. Tight end. I know that we signed 2 tight ends. I know that we have, and they're both good, and they'll both play. Jeremy Ruckert is the best all-around tight end in this year's class as far as blocking and receiving. He does not have the production in receiving because he played for Ohio State. So they throw to their receivers. They have quality receivers. They do all kinds of trick plays and outrights and reverses and all this crazy slants and get the ball fast to people. But in his tape where he's gotten opportunities as a tight end in the receiving role, he's been great. If you watch the tape, a lot of scouts will tell you he's open all the time. He could have been an option. If you would have thrown him onto Colorado State, he would have gotten all the same production that Trey McBride got at Colorado State. He just wasn't in that situation. The difference between him, Jeremy Ruckert, and every other tight end in the draft or all the top guys we talk about, is that he could actually block. He's a guy that can make our running game better. He can make our passing game better if they hold him in as a blocker. He's a guy you could put on a defensive end, and trust him to do the job and to block, which is important in our scheme. And even though we have two good tight ends that are good all around tight ends, I say that you always think about the future, and he's going to be that guy that might play sooner than you think, but you have set up for the future to be our long-term tight end.
And third tight end, what makes, okay, so I'm doubting that, but what makes you think he'll be available given how much you're praising him?
I don't know. I can only go by other mock drafts and look in the other boards. There's a lot of tight ends. There's a lot of debating over who people want, who's the right fit for which teams. There's a lot of people who think a tight end won't even start getting picked off the board until like 45. Trey McBride is a more popular name out there that might get chosen. Teams looking for receiving tight ends that they want really an extra weapon receiving and don't think about blocking based on their style of offense, because maybe they have a blocking tight end and they don't like to play a 12 personnel anyway, would be Isaiah Likely. There's just other guys. Deich. There's other guys that are that might be more popular. Jake Ferguson as receiving tight ends. I don't know that for sure.
And if he's not available, you taking another tight end, which you don't really need, or are you taking somebody else that's just a great player?
No, if he's not available, I'm probably looking at linebacker and or safety. I'm taking a higher up linebacker or safety based on who's still there. So if there was a safety there like Kirby Joseph, yeah, I mean he's a guy I like, and trying to think of Verone McKinley. Tight ends, if Anderson is there from Penn State, if Leo Chanel is there, if depending on who slips, if Chuma is still there, Christian Harris, there's a bunch of guys that probably won't be there, but one of them might, out of linebacker. So I would take best player available, linebacker or safety at 69.
If best player available, linebacker. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about next pick?
At 111, assuming that we end up getting Jeremy Ruckert, I take JoJo Domann, linebacker out of Nebraska.
JoJo.
I think he's the kind of linebacker that we can coach up and end up being a great linebacker, a very, very solid, very good starting linebacker for the New York Jets. So that would be my pick there.
So basically, you do want a linebacker, but you're willing to wait to get a good tight end, that can block and everything. But
yeah, I think that the tight end pick is not the higher position in need. It's just the level of the quality of player.
You like this guy.
Yeah, I think at pick 69, if you can get who I think might be the best all-around tight end in the draft, the number one tight end in the draft at 69, to get the number one guy in the position. And it would be the same thing with Tyler Lindenbaum, the same thing with Breece Hall. So look at all those players we'd be getting, like in my mind, that I believe are number one in their position in this class.
Okay. All right. And after JoJo.
At 117, if that happens, I go for safety because I think we need some more depth in that room. And I take Sterling Weatherford from Miami, Ohio. I like his size. He's really big, like 6'4", 620, very fast, long arms. I think he'll be really good, especially because we have Whitehead as more of the in-the-box, run-stopping, hard-hitting safety. We get the longer, lankier, pass defense type player in Weatherford.
But it sounds like with regards to linebacker and safety, you'd be willing to switch around who you take based on the best player. You're just trying to get those position covered with someone that's pretty good.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, how are we finishing this up?
We'll pick 146 in the fifth round. I go for, if he's there, there's a good chance or a solid chance he'll be there. I take Haskell Garrett, defensive tackle from Ohio State. And that is, it's a position of need for the future. Fadokasi went. We have a bunch of kind of mercenaries there that we're trying out and picking up. But outside of Quinnen Williams, there's no one that we could well, we have Sheldon Rankins, but like none of these guys really light up. I think that the trenches are important to this team. They can easily go for like another backup guard or tackle here. I think though, if you take Lindenbaum, what's going to happen is that McGovern's going to be your backup center and backup guard. So you just added depth to your offensive line that way.
Yeah.
So I think that, so for that reason, I say that they bulk up the inside of the defensive line. And Haskell Garrett, he's a big bodied guy, played really well for Ohio State, really good against the run, and has the athleticism to rush the quarterback from the inside.
Yeah. So basically, again, you're just taking someone who fills the need that you think is a good player that might get overlooked.
Yeah, and he might not be the biggest need this year coming up, but he might fill the need and be important for us 2-3 years down the road.
Yeah. I mean, any team can use someone in the trenches that's good, that gets overlooked, a good player, right? So you just like the guy.
I like him. I got to see him play for Ohio State a couple of times. The scouting on him is very good. So he plays plays in big, meaningful games. So he's played against elite competition.
Right. Who else you got?
Well, with our final pick, I got offensive tackle Kellen Deich. I took him at that point, honestly, because he was the best guy on the board. He is just throw the dice, throw a dart, offensive tackle, development offensive tackle to throw in the room, and have for, somebody gets hurt. He might be a guy that right away could come in and be trusted as a backup, or he might be a guy in 2-3 years who steps up as a starting offensive tackle. No way to know, but you got to throw darts. You got to keep putting new blood into each room, and I think that's a good guy to throw into that room.
So before I let you go, because it's really late here in Florence, any trades that you think we might get? Any big things coming up before the draft?
Well, there's a big Deebo Samuel.
I know Deebo.
It's all rumor. It's all speculation. But look, if he's not happy there, if they aren't able to sign him or don't believe they could sign him, I think they'll tag him. I think if they haven't used their tag ability, I don't think that the Niners are going to let Deebo walk. You and me called enough Niner games last year to know how important. It's just too important to that team.
Yeah, amazing.
And I think, though, if he became available, the Jets definitely are a team that have the cap flexibility. They have the draft capital. So I think that's what's really circulating that rumor. Because honestly and realistically, we're one of the very few teams in the NFL that are even in a position that can make a trade like that. And do I see
we could pay money and give up a good draft choice?
Right. We could give up draft capital and pay good money. We have that flexibility. He'd be a day, like no adjustment necessary. Same exact offense, knows both the coaches, knows the coaching staff. He'd be just an instant, running full speed from day one type of player. I don't believe in any of those things unless it happens. Like the only meat to the Deebo Samuel coming to the Jets is that it makes sense situationally if the Niners have to let him go. Like if the Niners can't keep him and they have to trade him, we make the most sense. But that's not enough for me to go around screaming, we're going to trade for or get Deebo Samuel.
What I like is I think it really helps Wilson.
Yeah.
It just helps him develop to have that kind of target.
It would be absolutely ridiculous if they had Deebo Samuel and Elijah Moore and Corey Davis and Berrios and these two tight ends. And then the draft, if we were to take Breece Hall and just have this electric running back with Michael Carter back healthy, a solidified offensive line, it would be a complete 360-degree turnaround from what Zach had last year. It would be absolutely impossible to predict how good the offense could potentially be if those things happened.
Yeah. I think it'd be exciting, super exciting. All right. Anything else you want to say in closing?
No, I just want to say to you, we didn't get to talk. You're in Florence. You went to the Central Market. Did you eat anything when you went upstairs into the Central Market in Florence? Because Jets mess will never forgive us if we don't talk about some snacks.
I had grilled ribs that were grilled beef ribs that were phenomenal. And my wife had grilled chicken. So we ate this grill shop and it was just phenomenal. We also had a bunch of really good wine.
Nice. Did you see them carving those fresh meat boards, like slicing prosciutto fresh?
Yeah. We also got sides. They gave us like these huge grilled onions and these delicious potatoes. It was good.
Yeah, I told you, man. That's my favorite place in the world. I could live in that market.
The thing I like the most, though, I have to say, is that almost every good restaurant here has huge 2 to 4 pound hunks of steak, like they're like T-bone kind of cut. They make steak Florentine out of it, and they grill them, and it's for two. And so they charge by the kilogram, which is 2.2 pounds, and you get more steak than you can really eat, and it's phenomenal. I had it the first night. We're gonna have it tomorrow night again, so I'm pretty stoked. Nice. I love beef, even though I'm a vegan. Not in Florence, I'm not.
Yeah. So I have some support from some people who agree with my my wishes. Aiden is here. We have a lot of people who, without notice, just kind of jumped on, which is kind of cool. Appreciate everybody being here. Me and my brother just threw this together. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks, Lee, for coming on from Italy. I'm looking forward to you being back and be able to do more co-hosting in the future. Pretty soon, we'll be doing some other analysis about what's coming for the season. So when you get back and you're back settled in your new home in Washington State near Portland, the city of Portland, Vancouver, Washington, let me know. I'll probably know because you're my brother.
I think so. And I really hope in 2 weeks, the draft will be over and we can look at your predictions and see what really happened and why it didn't match.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely be a what went wrong kind of thing, or what went right, what I get right, what I get wrong. And hopefully it'll be just because of who was available and not available, and not because it's like, not that I'm not going to root for anything Joe Douglas does and be happy and cheer really hard. It's always nice when what you believe matches up with what your general manager believes, for your favorite.
Yeah. So. Whatever happens, I mean, I'm super excited about the season. It's been a long off season.
Yeah. Feels like forever, even though it's still early on in the off season. But but the draft is going to be really excited. We're about 10 days away. So
yeah, very good. Thanks for talking to me. We have a huge time difference. I appreciate the early start from you.
All right. Go to bed. Take care. And everybody, I'll see you tonight. We'll be back tonight, 9:00 Eastern tonight with Dom C to do some player analysis.
Yeah, everybody.
I would regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
We have one of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game, and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Ekwonu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold, or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly here we are today, you can't get rid of him.
Right, it's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Okay, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
What would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a big old wet one right on the smack.